What happens when the ideals that once saved you no longer serve the same purpose? What if the older philosophies that you've been holding are actually breaking you? With this full moon in Sagittarius, there's a spotlight on our beliefs, our dreams, and our codes of truth. There's a show that's near and dear to my heart that really breaks down this very well. Essentially, it starts with this kid who wants to be a hero and save the world no matter the cost. And he meets the future version of himself who did save the world no matter the cost. The irony is the future rendition of himself only wanted to come back to the past to destroy the younger version of his ideal. Because it turned out in his future, it was exactly his ideal of saving the world that ended up making him destroy himself. What's interesting about the show though is even after he gets made aware of what his potential future looked like, he continued his dream of still becoming a hero, of still fighting the opposition no matter the cost, even when it was from himself. The biggest trope of every Sagittarius energetic person you know is the quest for meaning, is the concept of following your dreams and believing in your belief even when you know no one else does. And to be honest, it's a lonely route. But with this full moon in Sagittarius, you're not here to pretend anymore. We're seeing the difference between what's real, what's performative, and what is the truth of the matter. A lot of people talk about Sagittarius and the luck that they're able to tap into, but no one talks about the alchemy of these decisions. This full moon highlights that very strongly, considering the moon's in Sagittarius and the sun is in Gemini. But not only that, we've had Jupiter in Gemini at 29 degrees in this last bit. This has been seen mainly in America between the conversations of the president and Musk and all of the drama that's ensuing there. And what are they resorting to? Calling names, petty drama, little in-betweeners that the people pretty much know. But even in their battle, it's two ideals going against each other, trying to figure out which one was actually supposed to work. The irony is neither of them do. Which brings me to this next point. This full moon in Sagittarius is going to feel like a crisis in faith to a certain extent. But that's because any of the beliefs that you borrowed from something else or from someone else is now coming into question. Are you going to continue to do and live someone else's dream, or are you finally ready to settle into your own? And this is where this full moon gets juicy. We've had Saturn enter into the sign of Aries. Happy Saturn return to my fellow Saturn and Aries. And we have Jupiter that's shifting into Cancer. The planet of luck is finally ready for that emotional growth, to be at that height of feeling all the feelings and tapping into the exuberance and abundance that comes from feeling through all of those things. And Saturn and Aries wants structure towards your actions, towards the things that you truly feel deep down inside. Now, together, what this is trying to say is that you can't expand if your foundation is fake. And this is the core of this square happening between these two behemoths of planets. Jupiter in Cancer wants you to start to feel what makes you feel safe, connected. Who's your soul tribe? Who's really those people that you resonate to? Whereas Saturn in Aries wants to know, what is mine to claim? What can I stand for? And where do I need to act, even if I have to do it all by myself? And here's the in-between of this full moon in Sagittarius. If you jump without the wisdom and understanding of what you're aiming for, you will fall. However, if you refuse to take the leap at all, you'll stagnate and become a more bitter rendition of yourself. And we've seen how that's turned out with people over the ages. All of this to say, this isn't a time for your fantasy. This isn't a time for your delusion. This is about taking responsibilities for your dreams, your ideals, and making sure that you're upholding what you believe in and not parading your dream when it's actually someone else's. Do not let someone hijack your manifestation potential for the work and energy they refuse to work on themselves. As a Sagittarius myself, I can attest to the fact that ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to find a way to help people. I never knew how it was supposed to show up, but I always just had this need to serve those who were in need and to give them back into their power. Just didn't know how. When they used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I was like, I want to be a firefighter, a superhero, an astronaut, or Maybe it was a doctor at the time. I don't fully remember. But even myself, as a Sagittarius, I used to always be drawn to the superhero movies, the person who would come in at the last second and be able to save the day. And to be so honest, I think I've lived a lot of my life through that ideal, especially prior to now. But somewhere along my journey, and as a matter of fact, it's the same person who showed me the show at a very pivotal point in my life. And I remember the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed part of me being like, oh, I can help everyone. I know my astrology. I know how to read energy. I know how to do all these things. And I can stand and protect and be a guardian and help everyone out. I could do this. And I remember my friend looking at me. He was a bit older and told me the markings of a true hero is knowing that you can't save everyone. And I remember this put me in shock. What do you mean you can't save everyone? And the truth of the matter is, if you do save everyone, then there's no way that you can save yourself in that regard as well. Which brings me back to why that show was always so important to me. The younger version of that hero fully believed in saving everyone, even if it meant sacrificing everything and every ounce of what he had in order to do it. Whereas the future version of him had become inherently selfish, knowing that he had to become the priority and save himself. And perhaps he's able to take a few people with him along the way. But the real gift to the Sagittarian evolution is that the truth changes and evolves with you. Is that your circumstance and experience tailors the way your expression gets to shine. So before we step out of this container, I'll leave you with one question before the full moon in Sagittarius reaches its height. What version of you do you keep betraying in order to protect that past version of you? What would happen if you stop clinging to the idea of what's the meaning and you simply become it? This full moon isn't about proving your beliefs anymore. This is about embodying them. The only way forward is through. Are you ready to release the dreams that aren't yours? And from your experience in your life, what new ideal is finally starting to arise? Let this full moon in Sagittarius remind you exactly what you believe in.